In pop culture, specific characters just have that distinct silhouette to make them instantly recognizable. Characters like Batman, Pokemon, they made a whole segment of the show about this. E.T., with one of the most iconic shots in film history, and Darth Vader. This aspect of a character's design was integrated in a way so they could be instantly recognizable without even seeing every detail, and instead just the basic outline of them. And a character that I believe also falls into this category is Indiana Jones. Raiders of the Lost Ark was released in 1981 and I believe is one of the greatest movies of all time. Whenever I hear action adventure, the answer will always be Indiana Jones. These films demonstrate the thrill of a worldwide adventure, scouring the trenches of the earth in search for a relic lost to time. I cannot overstate my appreciation for this franchise, but specifically for the original trilogy. I think it's famously known that the Indiana Jones franchise has a very strong beginning, with Raiders, arguably the best film in the series, followed by a pretty good sequel, Temple of Doom, and a fantastic third installment, The Last Crusade. However, when you arrive at the fourth film in the series, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and its recent fifth entry, Dial of Destiny, things get a bit awkward. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, I don't like this one. This movie feels to me like an imitation of the original series, and it goes through the motions of an adventure without having the right energy to it, I guess. Also, the usage of CGI in this film just feels wrong. Moving the franchise towards a more sci-fi world, I don't think was the best direction. Then we move 16 years later, and now we have the fifth and seemingly final installment of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Most people didn't watch this movie, and it lives in infamy alongside some other 2023 box office bombs. Personally, I didn't think Dial of Destiny was that bad. It's got pacing issues, but I feel like it stayed more true to a classic Indiana Jones adventure than, say, the fourth one did. Anyways, I bring all this up because despite Indiana Jones' long-standing existence in pop culture, action figure representation hasn't quite latched onto the franchise, at least isn't it for a long time. Of course, the original films had toys, obviously getting the Kenner treatment, and obviously as Hasbro acquired the license, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull got a plethora of merchandise. But more specifically, Indiana Jones never got the 6-inch action figure treatment, at least not for a while. Released in 2014, this Figma Indiana Jones was the only supplement for a modern 6-inch action figure. I don't know how good or bad this figure is since I don't have it, but based on what I've read about it and that head sculpt, I'm sure people were longing for a better representation of the adventurer. It wouldn't be until the year of 2023 that Dial of Destiny had rejuvenated the franchise back into the general public, and discussions regarding the franchise was at an all-time high, There was actually a new Indiana Jones movie being made, which meant new products had to be made, and with this newfound excitement and eyes everywhere, came a new set of action figures. Something I want to note about all these new products was that, for the most part, only the original trilogy of films were considered, as there's no products from Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and very few actually from Dial of Destiny. But I'm sure no one was really complaining about this decision. Most people know of Hasbro's surprisingly long Adventure Series line of figures that I most definitely will make a video on that at some point, but there were other figures that I think went under the radar, one of which being Mezco, which revealed two offerings, one of Indiana Jones and the famous idol Temple Escape, and another with Major Toad and the Ark of the Covenant. As with most import figures, there is usually a year gap between announcement and release, so I don't think anyone actually has these figures yet. However, another figure, and the topic of today's video, was both revealed and released in the same year. Tamashii Nation's SH Figuarts line had revealed their offering, being this Raiders of the Lost Ark Indiana Jones. This is Indiana Jones, in case you couldn't tell. Right off the bat, I gotta say this figure is pretty great. There's a stunning amount of detail all over this figure, especially in the jacket and the face, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's take a step back and look at the full offering. The SH Figuarts Raiders of the Lost Ark Indiana Jones comes in this temple-inspired box, which is pretty fitting. Flipping the box around, you get a glimpse at the variant version you can turn this figure into, being this jacketless version. Something that's been done in more recent times, especially with like box sets and stuff, is that Raiders of the Lost Ark, the first film, has been renamed to Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, which I mean is counterintuitive, considering Indiana Jones and Sallah are the Raiders of the Lost Ark, which makes the title strange unless you're considering the enemies and Nazis being the Raiders and that really changed the perspective of the names of the film. Moving on, this Indiana Jones figure comes with a bunch of accessories, which reference important items from the first film. It would have been cool if this figure came with an accessory from every film to make this sort of the ultimate Indiana Jones, but I suppose the given license was just for Raiders specifically. Let's start with Indy himself, which, like I said, looks fantastic. As opposed to superheroes, there isn't a specific stature to capture, as in the end he is just a man. This figure looks great, but he's got some other problems, especially regarding aspects like articulation. This figure has single jointed arms and legs, which I think is pretty strange. It's something that the Adventure series indies also have, so I don't know why he's been cursed with single jointed limbs. I wouldn't even say this is an argument of him not being like a superhuman or something, because in the movies he's running around, jumping, swinging, shooting. He's very agile. Forgot to mention, but he also has toe joints for you freaky toe people. Going back to the arms, like I said, he only has a single joint in the elbow, but he also doesn't have a bicep swivel, so that kind of sucks. Same goes for thigh cuts, but to be fair, that's not something Figuarts usually does anyways. His torso is on a ball joint, so he can go all around, and with another joint for the upper torso. The jacket is made of a rubber material, so it will hinder the arm movements and butterfly joints. This figure makes his jacket a really dark brown, almost black color, which I mean is more movie accurate. I say this because the Adventure series release makes it a much brighter brown. Before moving on to the head, I want to talk about the things he's wearing. He's got his satchel, which freely moves around, so no, it's no problem. Plugged into his belt are both his holster and whip. They go in using this clip, and they will stay in there if you like shake them around, but they will pop out depending on the position of the legs. However, you can rotate them around to adjust for whatever pose you want to do. And now we arrive at the face, which I think is the best feature of this figure. They nailed the likeness to Harrison Ford for this release. Of course, you couldn't have an Indiana Jones figure without the hat. As you can tell, this hat has a very greenish tint to it as opposed to the normal brown color that the hat usually is. I'm not exactly sure why this is. I mean, in some shots the hat does look green as opposed to brown, but I think it's just a weird lighting of the hat. I mean, it doesn't look bad, but when compared to the Adventure series, there's a very stark difference. Let's move on to his accessories. This figure comes with 3 pairs of hands with 4 single hand positions. You have 2 fists, 2 relaxed hands, 2 thumbs up hands. Okay, they aren't intentionally thumbs up hands, but instead is for the whip. For the individual hands, he comes with a gun holding hand for the pistol, a grabbing hand, which has this clip to insert into the golden idol, and this open palm hand to get that bag, of course. The final hand, this sort of relaxed looking hand, I think is to hold the head of the Staff of Ra, but the thumbs up hands work better in my opinion. I mentioned a bunch of the accessories, so let's just go over them now as well. With this figure, you get 5 accessories. You obviously can't have an Indiana Jones figure without his whip, and I mean, technically you get 2. The base figure comes with the coiled up whip that attaches to his belts. Then you also get the extended whip, but unfortunately this whip is stuck in this position. I wish it had like a bendy wire or something so you could shape it however you like, so you'll have to work with what you get here. Also with the whip, obviously it would be weird if he was holding the whip while it was also attached to his belt, so this figure actually comes with a clip to put into the whip slot. Moving on, we have the fertility idol, also more easily known as the golden idol. One of the most iconic scenes in the franchise is the temple escape from the beginning of Raiders of the Lost Ark, so obviously this figure would include it. It's got a shiny tint to it, which is pretty neat, and like I said earlier, it can be clipped into one of his hands or it won't be sitting loose when you're posing with it. Another important aspect from that scene is the bag of sand that he tries to replace the idol with on the pressure plate, so this figure also includes that bag, which also has a special hand for him to hold it. Also included is Indy's second weapon, a gun. Straight up gun. The final accessory is the head of the Staff of Ra, which is a crucial item in finding the location of the Ark. But it would have been cool to have the full staff, as it's quite dangerous just to hold the pendant itself. And now we arrive at the swappable features, so let's start with the faces. Out of the box, of course, Indiana Jones has a stern expression while wearing this hat, and alongside that, he comes with two swappable expressions and a hairpiece for when he's not wearing the hat. The head comes apart in three pieces: the hat, the faceplate, and the back of the hair. The top of the hairpiece is this gold color, similar to like the idol, which I'm sure was just some weird manufacturing thing, but it's funny to note. Like I said, he comes with two extra faces. He has an angry face, concentrating face, I guess, which I think looks the worst out of the three. But then we have this smiling face, which I mean, okay, it looks absolutely spot on. It's kind of nuts. The full hairpiece works like the hair hat clip, and I mean, it looks pretty good. These extra faces add more personality to the figure, and I'm happy to see them included, especially at this quality. Last but not least, we have the alternate outfit feature of this figure. Like advertised on the back of the box, you get an extra set of arms to create his look from when he's exploring Cairo with Marion. And since he doesn't have his jacket, you get more leverage with his arm articulation. The extra arms is a cool bonus and gives more freedom with how you want to display your figure. And obviously all the hands for the jacket arms will work on these in case you had any doubts. Overall, this figure rocks, and I think is undoubtedly the best Indiana Jones figure. Between all the details and accessories, it creates a great representation of Indy for your collection. This figure is fairly new, as I don't think he's even a year old yet. In my experience, Figuarts figures aren't exactly the easiest to obtain. There is an Amazon page which for the most part features everything, but sometimes there are other places that might have them cheaper. I don't really know. But even on sites like eBay, he doesn't seem to be too highly above his original price, so I don't think there should be much of an issue if you truly want one. While I did praise this Indiana Jones figure, I would absolutely be interested in other companies, especially ones like Mafex, to take a stab at this franchise. The more the merrier. I'm really glad Tamashii Nations made this figure, and despite some of the design problems, I truly think this is, as of now, the best Indiana Jones action figure.